Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Bokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, good night, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Tonight, Liberia is confronting two stories that are very different in law, in circumstance, and consequence, but together they force us to confront an uncomfortable question. What does accountability really mean when powerful people are involved? A former Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, Madam Jewel Howard Taylor, is tonight in police custody and facing serious criminal charges, including drug trafficking, money laundering, and criminal conspiracy and other offenses connected to the government, to what the government describes as an alleged transnational narcotics network. She has been charged, but she has not been convicted, and the government now carries the burden of proving its case in court. At the same time, more than 5,000 miles away, an investigation by NPR News and APM Reports has placed another senior Liberian government official under scrutiny. Companies linked to National Port Authority Managing Director Sekou Dukuly received at least 36 million US dollars in Minnesota taxpayers' funds over roughly a decade and were connected to about 24 group homes. Minnesota authorities found neglect involving Dukuly-linked facilities in 10 cases, and investigators suspected maltreatment at those facilities at least 22 times, including 4 investigations involving resident deaths. A 5th resident later died after what the state determined was an improper discharge. Dukuly has not been accused by state or federal authorities of Medicaid fraud, and that distinction matters. But the reporting raises legitimate questions about public ethics, disclosure, divided responsibilities, and Liberia's process for vetting people entrusted with major public institutions. So tonight, we are not conducting trials on television. We are asking something different. Can Liberia build a system in which political prominence does not protect you from the law, political opposition does not make you a target of the law, and public offices carry standards higher than simply avoiding criminal prosecution? This is our discussion tonight on Focus on Liberia. Let me welcome the diplomatic analyst, Jimmy Eastman, who is joining us from the nation's capital. Welcome, Jimmy.
Oh, Dennis, thank you for this invitation. It's a lot of hot issues going on in our motherland, and it's a privilege to be able to discuss it. I look forward to a good conversation.
Thank you. Let me also welcome the new progressive commentator, Reverend Dr. Clarence R. Pearson. Welcome, Dr. Pearson.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be on the show tonight. I'm looking forward to spirited and sober reflection on these current development in our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia, and we are focusing on some of the current trending national issues that are going on in our country. Let me also welcome the legend.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show. That's our former radio and TV sports host.
Certainly. It's my greatest pleasure sharing the platform with you all.
Thank you. Before we begin the show, let me play this little clip.
On the public, the former Vice President Joel Howard Taylor has been formally charged in connection with the ongoing investigation into alleged transnational narcotics network operating within and beyond the Republic of Liberia. But Howard Taylor was stopped from departing Liberia at Robert International Airport and subsequently taken to the headquarters of the Liberian National Police. Following investigative procedures and review of the evidence presented by the Joint National Security Investigative Team, she has been charged with the following offenses. Under the Controlled Drug and Substance Act of 2023, violation of Section 14.83, unlicensed importation of a controlled drug or substance. Violation of Section 14.85, unlicensed sale, trading, administration, dispensation, delivery, distribution, dispatching, transit, and transportation of a controlled drug or substance. And violation of Section 14.93, illicit trafficking of a controlled drug or substance. Under Chapter 10 of the Penal Law of Liberia, violation of Section 10.2, criminal solicitation. Violation of Section 10.3, criminal facilitation. A violation of Section 10.4, criminal conspiracy. Under the Anti-Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Law, violation of Section 15.2, money laundering. The government further announces that the following alleged members and organizers of the same transnational narcotics network have been similarly charged in absentia. 1. Nicolas Avensi, a Croatian national. 2. Behuvil Brovik, a Croatian national. And 3. Tara Zemrico, a Ukrainian.
The legend, are you shocked by what you're hearing?
Well, I know the government should be responsible enough to have pieces of evidence to come up with those charges. So we'll watch how it plays out. I mean, any responsible government led by an octogenarian will have done some work for them to come up with such charges. Because remember, the police head Gregory Coleman said they were working exceedingly hard to get some things done behind the scenes. So we didn't know what all they were doing to come up with this. I don't think they came out of the blue and just stuck Madame Joel with these charges. I think there's a thing that they did their homework. So we'll watch how it all plays out.
Dr. Pearson, it started this morning. You know, when we woke up, we saw the former VP was traveling, and you know, they took off from the airport. For me personally, I didn't even know until very late that she was even charged. I mean, this is very fast, and it seems that. And what jumps out of you as you see this unfold?
Dennis, I hope we have time to go through this systematically, because for me, four primary things come out of this for me today when I saw it. One, I'm one of those who, the past couple of days, for one of my research for one of my books is to, I'm reading and listening to all of the TRC's testimonies from past warlords and actors and others who gave the testimonies and reading both at home and in the diaspora. So whatever I see happening in our political space in Liberia, I look at it from the lens of our history, our recent dark history, and how we should proceed in view of that. So I think I have some concern with how that whole issue play out today. A second thing I want to look at carefully is how do we approach those of our past high government officials, the past presidents and vice presidents, regardless of what may be obtained in the country or how we approach it, I think is very important. And I want to look at it from that lens. A third, I want to understand if Gregory in the press conference said that they have overwhelming evidence. And according to him, all he wanted to have done initially was to get a grand jury to hear the evidence and draw up an indictment that will be an unsealed indictment, but they didn't get to it. So at what point in time did he realize his evidence was strong enough to have gone to apprehend, arrest Madam former Vice President Taylor? The fourth, and hope I have the time to discuss it. If they did have those overwhelming intelligence with such a major national security issue like the drug issue, if the evidence were overwhelming, I'm sure they would have had surveillance on Madam Taylor and all those who they have under investigation. So at what point in time they realized that she had planned to travel, and what would have been the best approach to having the situation handled so that it didn't spark the kind of attention that we got today. Those are the four things that really caught my attention.
Are you skeptical? People are saying witch hunt.
Yeah, you know, it goes back to what I'm saying. If you look at the four indicators I just mentioned, if we're not careful, and especially with some of us who believe Gregory Coleman does not have the integrity to be presiding, to be anywhere near that investigation, it only just heighten our suspicion. Even when the president's son, who was drawn into this, to the extent that he was contacted directly by a so-called cartel, and brought in a video that is believed to be a valet, but not show who the content creator was. It was not even cited to the police headquarters to give a testimony that the public is aware of. So the police, different high commands that operate directly under Gregory Command, who have been compromised by this investigation today, was asked in a press briefing, while having they all been charged and maybe reprimand or remain in prison by now. And he said, well, they're following the internal ethical code of the police and internal investigation. At what point in time did the internal ethics of the police and their procedure trump the drug law of Liberia? That again, when you put all of those points together, then it raises concerns that anyone would think these approaches are being very biased. Madam former Vice President Taylor.
Thank you. Jimmy, your police IG, the IG said, first of all, normally they will invite people to say, come and let's talk, for questioning. But in the case of the VP, that was not the case. Also, he made a distinction that this is connected to 317 million drug, not the 19 million. So he tried to make those distinctions. Let's see what he was saying.
There's another connected question as to whether she will remain detained at the Central Police Headquarters. Taylor is currently being held at the Liberia National Police Headquarters, and yes.
Jimmy, I think you muted, Jimmy.
Okay. I should go ahead.
Yes,
Dennis.
go ahead.
Okay.
I will try to make some distinction because he knows that there are some concerns as to why this was very swift. And I don't know if there were other people charged, but this was very swift. This is a high profile, former government official.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dennis, I can tell you first of all, there are some legitimate concerns because since this investigation been ongoing, I'd say roughly about 4 weeks now, we have not heard of any involvement of the former Vice President Drew Howard Taylor. But yeah, what happens today? She goes to the airport to leave Liberia. I go on I understand a conference, and the government says she was prevented from leaving through the airport and was charged in an investigation involving transnational narcotics. Charges include drug trafficking, unlicensed importation of and distribution of controlled services, criminal solicitation, conspiracy, and money laundering. What I wonder is, this is the first time she's coming in for questioning? Why only today when she was traveling? I believe as Liberians, we who love our country, we shouldn't celebrate the humiliation of a former vice president at all. But we do want the government to follow evidence and wherever it leads, but they should always protect the defendant's rights. Okay? We're concerned here because the way it was done, and it seemed abrupt and sudden. Now, we must understand that these charges do not indicate guilt per se.
Jimmy, before you continue, I want you to clarify, was there any indication that her rights were violated? I didn't see that.
Well, except that she was prevented from leaving. Now I'm aware that before leaving the country, it's required that you have a police clearance. All right? That is typically the procedure. So if she was about to leave, one would have thought that she'd already cleared herself with the police. Now, why would it happen that she appears at the airport and then she's asked to go to the police headquarters to discuss some issues? There's something a little bit irregular here. And that is why I'm saying that we should approach this with caution, because it's not only her on trial here. The entire judicial legal system of Liberia is on trial here. The way they proceed here will exemplify if Liberia is a lawful country or there is abuse of power within our country. So this whole procedure is not just about those who have been accused, but it's also about the government manner of proceeding and not being portrayed as, like many people say, a witch hunting or going after its political opponents. So it's going to be very interesting in the next coming days, and I think we're in for some theater, if anything.
Right, but let's look at the charges, because these are not small charges, and these cannot be just thrown at anybody, right? The unlicensed importation of controlled drug or substance, meaning Madam Taylor imported drugs in the country.
Or participated.
Right? Mm-hmm. And you cannot do that without evidence. I mean, what?
Exactly.
The unlicensed sale, trading, and administration, dispensation, and delivery, dispatch, and transportation of control. These are not things that you can just make up. If you don't have evidence, I mean, how can you not prove something like this? How can you lie about something like this? And then we come to criminal, if this one, the criminal solicitation, criminal facilitation, criminal conspiracy, you can say, well, maybe. But the first three, Dr. Pearson, Can anybody make this up? Can anybody without any form of evidence even think about charging someone of this high profile with something like this?
Dennis, this is where it's important. That's why in any legal system, I'm not a lawyer. Let me say that quite frankly. But nothing stops us from having opinion on these matters. I'm not a lawyer, but this is why the grand jury before an indictment is issued, is very important, because it is one thing to just trump up charges and make up charges and slam it on someone. But it is one thing for a grand jury to hear to see the evidence and supporting those charges and give you reason for which that person should be charged to begin with or indicted to begin with and sent to court. And if the grand jury sits and they hear those charges that seem to directly put the person in charge of the event, and there's no evidence that we're saying apparent evidence to support it, they can throw it out the window, right? And then the person is not even going to go to court. We saw that in the United States with former Democratic leaders who Trump up cases were made up because Trump wanted them to be prosecuted for whatever reason, political reason. But grand jury throw the charges out of the window. Say, look, these things are not valid charges against these people. I'm talking about the Attorney General for New York. I'm talking about the Attorney General for the entire country, right? So I think, and we need to be careful here, Dennis. You see, when you injure somebody's reputation like this, especially in a situation where issue related to drug is unbearable, and there's a high degree of possibility this person is going to go to prison, only for you to go find out when you take this before the grand jury to come up with an indictment, the grand jury throw it out of the window because of lack of evidence. How do you repair that damage? And I think that's where Jimmy came in. And I'm saying, if Gregory is saying that he had overwhelming evidence that he didn't even need to consult with the vice president, what sense does it make to arrest her now when you have not gotten the indictment from the grand jury because of the sensitive nature of this woman standing in our country?
Dr. Pearson, if a crime is being committed, you don't need you issue an arrest right away. You don't want to wait for grand jury indictment before you do that. That's the first thing you do.
So there's nothing faulting the police to arrest somebody on probable cause. I'm not arguing that. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm telling you, there is a cloud of insecurity, of doubt,
from where? From where? Is it because he's Joe Howard Taylor? From where?
No, Dennis. Let me put it another way. Let me put it another way. So, our Constitution, I think it's Article 12. I could look it up. I think it's Article 12 of the Constitution, that 12B, I think. And I'm trying to look it up. Please look it up if you can. Anyone who's not talking. I think it provides for a person's right to freedom of movement, and they cannot be that right cannot be curtailed unless there is a hot pursuit of that person.
If there's crime,
let me land, Dennis, because this is important. Either the person is in the act of committing a crime, or the person is facilitating a crime. It is an active commission of a crime. That right is curtailed. I'm not saying the government, the police does not have the right to summarily, on probable cause, arrest somebody. Yeah. What I'm driving at here is that we are in a situation like that Jimmy said. These are sensitive times. These are crucial times. The police have the right, Gregory Cuomo has the right, Justice Minister has the right to make a courtesy visit to the Vice President's house and tell him, Vice President, you are under investigation for crimes of this nature, and these crimes are grave. We are putting you on a house arrest, or we are keeping you under house arrest while we get the grand jury to have you indicted, and then you'll be charged to court if the indictment is received. So what I'm saying, short, is we need to be very cautious of how we proceed, because this, what I'm telling you here, Dennis, once she's charged to court like they have done, without the grand jury having to hear see the evidence supporting the charges, and she's thrown behind bars, that injury cannot be easily remedied. Right? So I'm not saying everyone don't have the right to, because anybody can utilize the right and do whatever they want to do. I'm not disputing that.
Dr. Pearson, I too don't want to play lawyer, but that's not how it works. That that's the whole point of law enforcement, right? If you go in, you make an arrest. The issue you're talking about, that's the one the court is going to do. But for law enforcement have done this part. Crime is taking place, go issue an arrest, and you are indicted and will be sent to court. In that process, you can say, okay, go home and go relax. We will get back to you. But let me come to
Dennis, just give me 30 seconds because of where you put it. Give me 30 seconds.
Yeah, because unless we are saying justice is not blind.
Just give me 30 seconds.
Let me learn on this one. You are saying, hey, because it's Jua Howard Taylor, so there should be special treatment. But the regular Joe Blow commit a crime, the police go in right away, arrest, and keep them until you can send them to court. You have a limit, you have time limit in which you can keep them to send them to court. Go ahead, 30 seconds.
So give me the 30 seconds. We should be careful here. I am not in any way saying if someone commits a crime, they should not be arrested and charged to court. That's not what I'm telling you.
But
I'm telling you that what I'm telling you here is that we need to be very cognizant of the history that we're living with, right? We need to be cognizant of also the fact that the person involved in this investigation, right? When you put those two things together, I'm telling you, Dennis, if I have overwhelming evidence, I will go to the court, I will pursue an arrest warrant and have this person arrested and charged to court. I have all of the evidence. Gregory Coleman is saying to us, they have overwhelming evidence. Mm-hmm. They have not even had a chance to sit before a grand jury, which of course is not a prerequisite, but I'm saying to you,
thank you.
These charges that they have here before a grand jury, what if those charges are kicked out of the court? Madam Taylor, Vice President Taylor, former Vice President Taylor, does not have the opportunity to file a bond because of the nature of this kind of investigation. So you need to use your best discretion. And there's nothing wrong with using your best discretion. She's not a flat rate. A flat
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. Let me give others a chance. Sorry. I get your point. We should massage it. This is the VP and stuff like that. But let me go to Wisse. Mr. Wisse, I want to get your take. Respond to what.
Yeah. So let me commence by drawing a dichotomy here.
And can you say a little bit? We want to see your.
Okay. so Doc, let me commence here by drawing a dichotomy here between two things. Listen, firstly, we are Liberians, so this issue of drugs, illicit drugs, so to speak, we might fight it holistically, and it has to be apolitical. There is no way we should bring our political lineage into this. And where we draw the line here is the fact that we want it to be done fairly and squarely, because of that, you see a lot of people clamoring for the current IG, Gregory Coleman, to recuse himself, to step aside from this case, because of how clouded it has become. So many people think that people who worked directly with him, they have been aligned, and some of them have been suspended from their jobs. It's not just the police, because this is a whole police military. They all involve NSA, whether the LDEA. They are all working together to remedy this matter. But because of that, people think on Greg's end he should step aside, which I wholeheartedly concur with those who are saying it, except for if the powers that be in person of Joseph Barker, if he deems it necessary to call on Greg to step aside, will so be it. But the optics at this point doesn't look good for him. So I want us to know that we have to draw a line here. We want this issue to be resolved. Look, I was in Liberia last a few years ago, and I play Scrabble competitively. So I go to Gurley Street, GL Gibson. I'm sure that's the name of the school on Gurley Street. We play Scrabble there all day for the most part. And right behind GL Gibson on Gurley, around there where the graveyard is, look, we will be sitting on the Scrabble board playing, and those young men, I don't like to call that name Zogo, I would like to say disadvantaged youth. Young people where you can see yourself or see your brother or see your sister, men and women, boys and girls. They will come from the graveyard, snatch somebody's phone in broad daylight, and they will just say, "Let it go," and they off to the cemetery, and there's absolutely nothing that person could do about it. So this issue it cannot be discriminated. We have to fight it, and we have to fight it with all we have. And I keep telling people, put down your political sentiments, support this president as long as they're doing the right thing.
Are you implying that's what Mr. Pearson is doing?
Say that again.
Are you implying that Dr. Pearson has political?
No. Not by any stroke of the imagination. I'm just trying to bring to our minds here that the first picture that we should paint when we are confronting this issue of drug is a picture of patriotism, being very nationalistic, to fight it. Then, if there's something going contrary, like I just drew a dichotomy, like for instance, people asking for Greg to recuse himself and calling for other people to step aside and bring more involvement of international community, then we should be welcoming to that. But until then, the first and foremost in this drug saga is the fight as a nation versus a separate fight. If we go into this as a separate fight, trust me, this will persist into 2029, and more than likely 2029, we'll have a new government and we'll still have to deal with it. But if we fight it holistically, we fight it as a unit, as a country, we might come to a remedy, and it will help our country greatly. Drug is really ravaging our country, and I was there.
So let me ask you this question. What does the decision to charge a former vice president tell us?
It tells a lot, Ja.
Yeah. What does it tell us about the skill and sophistication of the alleged narcotics network investigators say they uncovered?
Ja, it says a lot. Look, this drug thing, any level-headed person can tell it's a whole syndicate. There's no way it's just one person. Think about this. There was somebody aligned with the drug issue at the Rawa International Airport, Mr. Kuya, and then you before you blink, they said there's somebody aligned with it at the National Port Authority. I mean, the police have couple of people right now, LDEA. So you can see it's a whole web. That's why the fight must be taken seriously. So, Madam Joanne Howard Taylor, for them to come up today and not just say, look, we're going to hold this lady and she has to answer a question, but at this juncture, they have already placed a specific crimes on her head relative to this. It tells you that some level of work has been done. And in sharp contrast, if that is not the case, and they just put these levy these charges against this lady, it's going to break this government. And this government, I can not foresee is going into 2029 with their hope of retaining state power. And more than likely not, because they fought against their claim to fame to winning this past election. One of it was combating drugs, and today they cannot fail doing that and falsely label a high stakeholder like a former vice president falsely, and it will not all go well for them coming into 2029. So I'm meeting, firstly, fight it as a nation, firstly, resist it as a nation, and we can go our separate ways in our political affiliations or our political lineage once we've remedied the matter.
Thank you. Jimmy, the government says there will be no selective justice or political protection. What will Liberians need to see before they believe this represents genuine accountability rather than selective prosecution?
That's a fair question, and because right now, the rule of law is under scrutiny right now by all Liberians. for this particular case, we can sense that some factors suggest that this was not a routine detention. First of all, she faces several categories of alleged offenses, including trafficking, importation, distribution, conspiracy, facilitation, solicitation, and money laundering. Then the government also says that the Joint Security Investigative Team reviewed evidence before she was charged. So that they have been doing some research. 3 foreign nationals were charged who are alleged members of the organization of the same network. Okay, a former senior national security agency.
Will pursue all lawful domestic and international.
A former senior national security agency was also called for questioning. Police leadership connected her to a specific cocaine seizure rather than merely describing her as a general person of interest. So what we see here is a lot of work has been done for them to come up with these allegations against her. But what is left to see, if I should address your question directly?
Okay. Because those allegations are serious.
Yes, but so this is what is going to be told. Does the indictment describe Taylor's alleged actions with specificity?
But Jimmy,
is the evidence independently corroborated?
Jimmy, there's no indictment.
Yeah, but as an indictment has to follow, and she's been charged. The next thing, they will try to make an indictment. Okay. Were searches, interceptions, arrests, and financial seizures lawfully conducted? Can prosecutors demonstrate that she knowingly participated? I think that question, Mr. Dr. Pearson alluded to it. Can they connect her directly to the drugs or criminal proceeds rather than relying on association? Will witnesses and documentary evidence withstand cross-examination? This is what is going to be seen for Liberian people to be convinced, yes, truly, you are following the due course of law and giving her as a citizen, a Liberian citizen, a free chance of trial by her peers. And Dr. Pearson, your thing, what you were asking for, Article 13B said every Liberian citizen shall have the right to leave and to enter Liberia at any time. Liberian citizens and non-residents may be extradited to a foreign country for prosecution of a criminal offense in accordance with the provision of extradition treaty. So we're looking now at how they're going to proceed. All right? Because for them to target such a high-profile person, they have to provide a preponderance of evidence to convince us that this is not a witch hunt. So that's what we're willing to see now.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, I have a question here. And it's not hard at all. How should the government provide maximum public transparency while protecting Madam Howard's constitutional right to due process and a fair trial?
I think it's too late. I think it's too late for that already, right? I think it's too late for that already. People try, when people having this conversation, they do it with sentiments and party line, like my friend Wissa was saying. Look, let me be clear here, Dennis. Let me be clear. There are certain injuries that is sustained. It is difficult for you to go back and undo that injury. One of the reasons why we had a civil crisis was just that. People felt that you can hurt people, and it's, oh man, it happened, let's just move on. And so now we clap for people who hurting other people. We sing songs about them, and then we try to move on only for that injury to outlive the emotions. Now, let me say this, Dennis. Gregory telling us, and the Justice Minister telling us that they have overwhelming evidence. In the legal terms, they say on the preponderance of evidence, however they will say it. And then they make it seem in the charges as though deep investigation have been done to establish ownership for that entire trafficking by Madam Taylor. This is not aiding and abetting. This is not criminal facilitation. This is not conspiracy to commit. This is ownership of the entire cartel function. That's what they just did. Now, if this was the case, it means to say, like Jimmy mentioned earlier, that they must have done some deep investigation and have some hard evidence. And by that fact, Dennis, there should have been a warrant from a judge based on those facts to have accommodated the violation of her right to freedom of movement in her person, and carry her to the police headquarters and have her further detained for submission to the courts, like Gregory said, at the appropriate time. But they did not have a warrant for her arrest. It does mean that they did not have pre-written charges before the judge. They must have prepared that while they kept her for almost 6 to 7 hours at the police station. It doesn't show that they have already prepared themselves. Now, I can understand they said that if they had sufficient evidence, then they were in the process of going to a grand jury to get an indictment, but then they didn't want her to leave because it would make it difficult for them to get her. Somebody may tip her off. Then that's what I said. They could have kept her under house arrest and go through the process. Because I am very afraid President Barker's son was named in a video allegedly from cartel members. President Barker's son agreed that he received a direct communication from the cartel members, alleged cartel members. President Barker's son wrote a letter to the public explaining his side of the story from the cartel member and his interaction. Was he invited to the police station in broad daylight for Liberian people to see and understand that the fight on drug is transparent and there's no sacred cows? No. All of the police deputies and the commissioners under Gregory's command that were compromised who escorted drugs to and from the pickup point and to the airport. Gregory Coleman said, with escort vehicles. Today, Gregory Coleman said, when the journalist asked him, he said, they are not yet in jail. They are not yet in detention. They are going through police internal investigation by the ethical unit to establish before he can charge them or he can put them in jail. So if he is cautious of how he deal with his own police under his command, why wasn't he cautious enough with how he dealt with the former vice president of the Republic of Liberia? That's my concern. And every well-meaning Liberian should be concerned that we fight this drug to the bottom of it, but with the level of maturity, with the level of professionalism that will make it not to be seen as witch hunt, and that will not go about tarnishing poor reputation, only to come out at the end of the day that we're mistaken about it. That's all my concern is.
Thank you. And what if the charges are true?
If the charges are true or not, that's not our concern right now. Our concern is that we want to stop any transnational drug functioning in Liberia. That's our concern. But the point is that how we go about it is what we are concerned about.
Right. And I get and I understand you, and I agree that when it comes to law, it's not the end justify the means. But that's why I say, what if this is true and is the only issue, your only issue of the process? But the ultimate goal here is to, as the Justice Minister said, dismantle the entire drug cartel. So why are you so bogged down with the process? Because you see what happened with process is that there are some doors you can open that can be shut in administration. They teach us that in process management. There are some doors you can open and you can shut. There are some doors you can open
and shut, you can't open again. It's not a revolving door. It's not a door you can go through twice. This issue with this drug issue is sensitive because, Dennis, any Liberian you slam with an accusation of drug charges cannot file a bond because it's non-bailable. That person goes to jail. So you would have caused the damage before you come to realize, oh, we made a mistake. In law, and I'm not a lawyer, but in law, they say it's better for 99 innocent person to be spared misjudgment, right? Than for one person to be, mishandled by the law. And that is my concern. We should go about this thing in a responsible manner.
Thank you. I don't want people to think, that you are not too concerned about the whole drug thing and you are worried about the process. That's what I'm trying to free you from. But Jimmy, let me ask you, with 2 Croatian nationals and 1 Ukrainian national charged in absentia, what international cooperation will Liberia need to locate suspects, obtain evidence, and pursue extradition or other legal remedies? You're the diplomat here. What we need to do here? Jimmy, you're muted.
That's a legitimate question. That is why we have what they call Interpol, which is really international police. The police cooperate between countries on a various level. So if there is someone, and that is why the Liberian government is already working with the United States, Great Britain, and I believe Morocco as well. They're already working with various police organizations to process this case and dial up these accused in connection with it. Now, of course, these people can go and hide, or they can try to hide, conceal their identity, but there will be a manhunt for them. And eventually, with persistence, they will appear, or they will eventually be caught. So this institution is already set up to cooperate at that level. So that is not an issue. That has already been set up in various countries. In fact, a lot of these drug busts that we're coming up with were that network communicating to local law enforcement that this thing is happening, and they were tipped off, in other words, and that is how they were able to confiscate and catch these drugs where they were. So we know that is going on at a level, but what I see is important to go back to transparency and fairness to everyone. There have been indications where other people have been accused, but the only thing what they had to do was answer questions. But this Jewel Howard, that's not what happened in her case, where she was stopped at the airport from leaving. I think that is that presents itself as extremely harsh. Why wouldn't they have contacted her earlier, prior to this, or no? And why only when she? I think that is it appears like it's almost intended for humiliation. And when we administer justice, we want it to be fair across the board, treat everybody the same, and that's what raises suspicion. So the government has a responsibility to be very, very transparent and fair across the board in this investigation, because the law in Liberia, the rule of law in Liberia right now is on trial.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Wisse.
Certainly.
You raised the question. You raised the question about partisan politics. And we see a lot of this on display every time. I mean, Akara's Grape, CDC, Unity Party, when it comes to these things, right? But do you see that the government is always kind of so animated when it comes to the arrest of high-profile people and getting them in jail. We saw that in the Rice case. We saw that in the case of Tua, Mary Brown, and now Joe Howard Taylor. So if the government is always animated when it comes to getting high-profile people in jail, especially from the past we administration, does that concern you?
It is very concerning, and John, and let me be crystal clear here relative to that. And this is just not applicable to this government. This is a matter issue that persisted in our country for the longest, and it is unfortunate. People should be patriotic. People should be objective first. And you saw when George, we had the ex-president, was at the helm of power. You saw him to a larger extent, I would like to call freedom of expression. And considering the dark here was just talking about, I think what you were alluding to, what 11B, have fundamental rights in a synopsis, fundamental rights, people, fundamental rights being violated and trying to suppress free speech. Punch FM was closed for the longest during George. We had tenure as a president for 6 years. And even there were times that even the very spoon that a lot of them, CDC has a couple of representatives on today on their famous talk show, proffering their ideas for them to return to state power in 2029. The spoon had issues with George Weah government. I think they even took it to court, and some of the members of CDC went to court. Even Henry Costa station that he used to have, then they went to serious matter of freedom of expression, suppression of the press. Then, so this is not today's matter. You see, this government today, when they go after the former vice president, whether it's fairly done, considering they say they've done their homework, and she was stopped at the airport. You can look at it two ways. Another person will say, what if she was trying to abscond the country and the government has a glaring evidence that she needed to be seen and she needed to be stopped from leaving the country? Are they to let her go scot-free, considering what they have on hands? I do not think so. But like I said, I will always bring it to the fact as an objective Liberian first, that if that is not the case, and they just malign her character and put all these charges on her, and that, for instance, hypothetically, they go to court tomorrow and she defeats the government, they do not have the piece of evidence to substantiate what they are claiming today. It looks bad for the government, and that would kind of put a dent in their chance of retaining state power, which I know they will be looking for. So yeah, my brother, it's 100% accurate when it comes to addressing issue relative to people who are not in power. The same way how they are headstrong, the same way how they engage the people who are not in power, and they are in the top official, like you mentioned, Akara Gray and the like, who were at the police station today. They should do similarly to their official when something goes wrong. So I'm in accord with you. We should address this issue very seriously.
Jimmy, I want you to have a last word on this one.
Yeah.
All of you, as we close, what do we hope to see in the coming days and weeks and months concerning this case and the entire, drug investigation?
Yeah, this is what we definitely hope to see. Justice must not be partial. It must be totally impartial. And in a matter involving other members that have been mentioned, maybe members of the president family, it must be demonstrably impartial. We do not want the treatment of one person to be less fair than another person. If you said you have this information on this person and arguably you can detain them, then that should apply for anybody that you have the similar information on. Not spare one and detain the other. And that's the thing we want to see. Yes, We want the government to go after this drug cartel to stop the drug trafficking because it may affect the livelihoods of all Liberians. But I want them to do it in a very fair way. And the legend we said, you mentioned somebody jacked somebody's phone, as we say back home. There's been pickpocketing to petty theft in all places of the world. Okay, Liberia is not immune to this, but what we have to see is that justice is fairly adjudicated throughout the country in a way that is transparent, in a way that is fair and impartial. That's all we can do, and we as a community, we have to be our own keeper. We shouldn't shield people who are doing wrong because we know them. And as long as we're sincere to ourselves, sincere to the Republic, sincere to the laws of Liberia, then we will not condone such behavior. So, Dennis, in a nutshell, we want this to be fair, pursue the evidence, but make sure it's fair across the board to everybody.
Thank you. The lawyer Rodney Chesson said, Oswald Tuwe was my classmate in law school. I'm certain that he would not go after Joel Taylor if he didn't have the evidence to charge her and others. Arresting her is a serious matter. Did you hear that they were waiting for a grand jury's finding before arresting her?
But that doesn't, usually they arrest you before it goes to a grand jury.
Right. Dr. Pearson, what look in your crystal ball within the coming days and weeks, what do you expect to happen?
Well, Dennis, look, I'm troubled.
Don't let your heart be troubled. Believe in God.
Because look, I will keep saying that every time I'm on the air, we're having discussion about Liberia. I look in history to look at the current attitude of behavior of Liberians now. I did not lose my father in Liberian Civil War because my father did anything wrong. I lost my father in Liberian Civil War because other people who govern the country did it so irresponsibly that at the end of the day, their actions deliver consequences on people who had no dealings with what they were doing as leaders. And people celebrated them. Let people celebrate it now. What I'm saying in short, and I will close on this, when Global Logistics manager took phone call and order $90 million drugs to go to the RIA airport, when he came out of the country, even though it happened on the 8th, he was never arrested until July 14th, from June 8th to July 14th, to July 4th. When we're arguing nothing on this platform or other platform, Gregory Coleman said they were investigating the thing further to establish genuine reason before they can get a minister cooperating. In other words, they were looking for convincing reasons why that man should be charged, because he know that it was non-bailable and he will go to jail if he is charged. And that's what I'm saying here with Madam Taylor. What I see in the next few days, I see that the people of Bond County are not going to be happy. I see that this thing is going to spark without whether we like it or not, whether some people want to walk in denial or not, they're going to spark trouble, indifference. It's going to do that. No matter how long term it's going to be, it's going to spark that, because what we're dealing with is a serious matter and it needs to be addressed seriously and responsibly. You cannot treat your former presidents, vice presidents with this level of contempt and believe that you're being political. You want to show off that you have power and nobody's above the law. But when it comes to other people who are in power or who are close to power, can get away with similar behavior and have less consequence and action against them. And I repeat, President Boyka's son was in a video with alleged cartel members who contacted him on his direct phone line. He replied to them on their direct phone line he wrote a long speech apologizing to the Liberian people or saying that he had no link to the cartel. He was never publicly called to the Liberian National Police for investigation, even by formality. Second, the deputy commanders in the police, deputy commanders in the police, deputy directors and commissioners, even NSC and others, are not behind bars, who are linked with serious charges to this drug cartel issue. Even the guy who took $10,000, according to Gregory Como on live video, to give some special treatment to cartel members who were arrested, he is still not behind bars as we speak. Gregory Como today said on live interview that they are going through internal protocol under the police ethics department to establish some facts. Who gave him that leverage to give preferential treatment to those who are linked to the cartel with substantial evidence he himself had come on platform and announced? Who gave him that leverage? And now we see the former vice president with overwhelming evidence, but there was no warrant of arrest to show that they went before a judge with the evidence to get preliminary endorsement by a judge. They ran to the airport to grab her en route to a conference. If they had overwhelming evidence, they must have had surveillance on her. They could have gone to her and said, Madam former Vice President, we advise you to say that you cannot travel at this time because we have sufficient evidence linking you to a crime that you are now under investigation, you are under house arrest as we look into this matter, and the grand jury can come up with an indictment. It is just an honor we're giving you in respect of your former position, nothing else. Because the crime is non-bailable, and we cannot proceed with our top leaders with this level of disregard for who they are in society. It has ramifications. In as much as we want to attack this drug issue, we want to go about it responsibly and professionally, because people's reputation is at stake here.
Thank you. Mr. Wisa, let's wrap this topic up. Well, sometimes the question about fairness trumps everything. Let's say if we have 10 drug dealers and we let 9 go and catch only 1, are we going to be happy that at least 1 drug dealer is off the street? Or we're going to say, where are the other 9? So we're not happy, Talk to me about how we treat this, because I think what a lot of us, even if all of us are wrong, and you get me and not the other people, I feel that I'm not fairly treated.
My
but
dear
we
brother.
get better. At least we get one person,
Right.
small. In Labro, we say, one guy said we eat Labro, we always say small, and that's bad.
Ja, yes, my issue. I'm totally befuddled when I see Liberians trying to create a picture wherein we want this government to fight the issue of drugs today, but then when a certain group of people or a certain person is mentioned or aligned with the drugs, at least when the security brings up a certain name, and then people say, oh, why is it this person? I think it is justifiable for anybody to say Greg should recuse himself. It's justifiable to say the president's son was mentioned, let him go after him. We can also do 2 rights. It's equally fair to say they've seen what they saw, and Madam Joy Howard Taylor was arrested today at the airport. So let her go through what she needs to do and exonerate herself. It's possible to do 2 things right. On one hand, you can be calling for the government to go after its people who name are coming about in this drug saga, and you can equally be calling for people who are in opposition that the drug is being mentioned about. Think about it. This is not the first time we are fighting the issue of drug. It's just that we are in the current time today. So that's why this issue is being looked at today. But we dealt with a healthy amount of drug under Madam Ellen Johnson's relief, and we equally dealt with a hefty amount of drug under former President George Weah. $100 million drug is not a small amount. Think about it. If Liberia had emerged victorious in if we had handled that, because that was a winnable case, if we had handled that case rightly and Liberia had won $100 million, I mean, we could have benefited greatly from that case, but those people walk freely. So this government is taking steps in that direction, and all I think it needs to do is listen to the voice of the people, because it is because of the people that the president gets elected, and he's there to serve your people's servant. So if the people are calling for you to ask somebody to leave, not just Greg, any other person in the security apparatus, if they wanted to step aside, let them step aside. Let the will of the people be done if it is logical and if it is befitting. You cannot just put somebody like Mr. Chesson, who commented that he went to school with somebody like Councillor Oswald Twe. Oswald Twe happened to be my own father, who happened to be a lawyer, Councillor. We said direct boss. These are people who work their tails off at Jim's APA and Twe law firm. These are people who work their tail off to get to where they are. So I don't think somebody like that would just put his image on the line blindly because of a piece of job. That is a corporate lawyer. I think he can get a job in any fear of this world. Someone like Jimmy APA, if you know about him and you know about Oswald Twe, they can get a job anywhere in this world. So I think for them to be trying to take a step in this government, the current government, are trying to do something about drug. Those are laudable effort, and I think we should put our arms around them. If they are going straight, if they're going the wrong way, we should speak about it like we are doing today. But if they are doing the right thing, we should void of who they are going to arrest, whether the former vice president, whether the current, whomever. We should stand with them to do the right thing. That's the biggest issue. Let's do the right thing.
Thank you. And I think my take is, I think that's where I stand also. What I was expecting is people to say, let's wait and see where the law leads, right? You know, and I'm thinking, right, because President Weah was faced with the same issue about justice. And President Weah, in one of his best speeches that I remember, which was, "Beat it, driver, beat it, we died at your worry." He said, now you're going to tell me is, to go after these people. But when somebody died, you will blame me again. So he used this very thing. In other words, and this was his reason for not going after people, for not auditing the previous government, for not investigating crimes, because you tell me, beat it, driver, beat it, we died at your worry, you will be the same person to complain when I start to go after these people. Right? And so President Weah pulled back, and now we have drugs. So if the current government can muster the courage to at least get one drug dealer off the street, I think they have moved the needle. And with that, we're going to transition into our next case, the next issue, which is the issue about the NPA Managing Director, Sekou Dukuly.
Dennis, I want to ask you, are we going to discuss, I think we have some deportees arriving tomorrow in Monrovia, Liberia. Are we going to discuss the...
Let's discuss that too. So let's knock off Sekou quickly.
Okay.
Dr. Pearson, like this one. US $36 million, that's what we're talking about here. 24 group homes, resident deaths, and Liberia's NPA Managing Director, Sekou Dukuly. So based on what we know, the company links to the NPA Managing Director, Sekou Dukuly, reportedly received at least $36 million in Minnesota of taxpayer funds over 10 years, over a decade. There have been multiple assisted living facilities connected to him that face repeated neglect investigations and several resident deaths. This is several. I know of very few. Even after relocating to Liberia to run the NPA, Sekou Dukuly remained the licensed director of Minnesota Assisted Living Facilities. Important distinction we should note here is no state or federal authority has accused Dukuly of Medicaid fraud. The story raises governance questions in both Liberia and the US, including whether the Liberian government knew he continued managing these facilities abroad. And by the way, I'm about, I'm developing, I have developed a software that you can use in managing these group homes and assisted living facilities. So Sekou, if you are listening, please contact me so that you can try my product. Anyway, that was a joke. But Dr. Pearson, the question with Sekou, it came up and there's been a lot of things said. When the reporter said, investigator, they said, well, there is no law that stops you from being in Liberia and having a company in Minnesota, and there has been no fraud against that he's being charged with, right? Even though they went through with his marriage, the divorce, and what he said, and all that. Is there a problem with this, with what Sekou is in, or is because there has been a dragnet in Minnesota with the Somalians? People are saying there's too much money, and all that. Is it what is happening? Is this what is really fueling this, or this is a genuine investigation that that make that Sekou in trouble?
Dennis, thank you for the question. I think I'm one of those who've said repeatedly that I have a lot of respect for Liberians my age or younger who came out of the past 14 years where Liberia went backwards, wasted a lot of our time, and we still managed to come up on top. So I'm very careful not to want to be the one seen to be beating on any of those category of people, considering what they're trying to achieve. But I think that there are some things to worry about here. When it comes to how you handle taxpayer money in this country, Dennis, I don't have to tell you, right? I mean, it's serious matter. And I get a couple of examples I can give. Just for those who I see on the social media trying to downplay this issue. You remember Ellen Cochran?
Yeah.
She was hooked for taxpayer money. She was hooked for taxpayer money. She got away with it in Liberia, but she didn't get away with it in America yet. She was hooked on taxpayer money in this country.
Yeah, but is that similar to Sekou? Is Sekou?
Remember? No, I'm just talking about how people treat the monies here, taxpayer money here. You remember Dr. Daniel Kasia, the former presidential hopeful in
That's
Liberia?
not the case with Sekou now. That's why I'm trying to understand.
Dennis, you said the man is accused of have used received about $36 million of taxpayer money in Medicaid,
yeah,
which is state dollars, not medical, not Medicare. Mm-hmm. And Daniel Cassell, similar charges on state dollars. The same money we're talking about, the same kind of money.
No, there's a person. I don't want. The 36 million over 10 years. That's legal money. That was not.
My brother, give me a chance. Let me talk.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure.
Right? The basis I'm laying here is that people are downplaying the fact that the hearing of the fee is something simple. I'm telling you, taxpayer dollars in this country is not money you play with. And I'm giving you Liberian people example. Liberians who got away with stuff in Liberia but couldn't get away with it here. I told you Ellen Cochran, and I called Daniel Kasi. I got another brother near me here in New Jersey who I will not call his name, who did similar thing, and now he is in hot water himself. Right? Now, let me come back to what I'm trying to say here. You see, this government came to power with the intention of rebuilding the government's image. They said, the past CDC administration put the image of the country in the dream. They're rebuilding now. They were happy that at the UN, they're happy now that they say President Boga came and spoke good English, beautiful English here at the warehouse. And so now we're getting popular around the world. We also understand that this government did not do well with vetting people who were being appointed to government, and we heard it from the house's own mouth. All right, John Molu, right, when he said that initially when the campaign was getting the power, they told the old man, Mr. Barker will win this election. Let us do a term vetting of people who will get position to. But it looks like a lot of people put money into this campaign, and they couldn't be sidelined at the time of appointment. Another thing I want to say here is that this thing also border on a trust, position of trust. If you have someone in government that you're trying to rebuild its image, and you've been accused by one of the, we call the integrity icon of Liberia, John Molu, of not vetting people properly, and this man is now showing leakages of baggages that is not conducive to the investment climate of our country, it's worrying. If I am President Barker, I would do what President Barker said George Weah should have done, former President Weah should have done. Dismiss people in his government who allegation was coming against from the United States. With former President Weah's situation, it was political sanctions. Today, none of those sanctioned individuals have had a day in court. No evidence that brought that sanction to them have made surface into court. One of my Randy said he trusts Oswald to judgment, charging people. He charged Samuel Tuer to court. Samuel Tuer came out victorious, even though they say the jury was tampered with. But I'm saying this to say, if I'm President Boykai, if you want to come to power and you want to rebuild image, you want to maintain a good credibility, you want to have a strong investment climate, I'll go back to what Madam Ellen Jones just told him. If you want to attract correct business people to your country, you need to have the right environment and you have to have the good image. And I don't think what we are seeing coming out of that NPR investigation, journalistic investigation, is good for the image of the country. And I think if our President Barker, I will have him go on administrative leave, go and settle your issues, go deal with the issues, and then you come back. People say, oh, there's no federal or state investigation. The last time I checked, the entire Medicaid uproar in Minnesota was caused by one mega influencer who said he identified fraud in Minnesota. And that sparked a whole big deal in the Somali community that led to so many Somalis being impacted negatively by that social media post. Now his case is an investigative journalism that took place with him, and the reports are out there. People cannot just dismiss and say, oh, it doesn't mean nothing, and it's just going to go away. It is not going to go away. There is political season, there is campaign season. Elections are about 2-3 months away from here. Those guys are going to play with that thing. The best thing President Barack can do, ask the young man to go on administrative leave and let him give time for that issue to be dealt with. That's my humble advice. He's the president. He can take it or he can leave it. I got nothing to lose. And I'll stop.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jimmy.
Yeah.
Should senior officials be legally required to disclose significant business, directorship, and financial interests they maintain outside Liberia?
Without a doubt, especially positions that require public trust. First of all, let's establish this. A person may legally own businesses while serving in government, but actively operating these businesses while holding a demanding public office, that presents a different question, okay? Now, Dukuly, I don't know him personally, but he was appointed to manage Liberia's strategical vital port system. His relevant public record, including litigation, business ownership, court findings, regulatory history, should have been examined before confirmation or appointment. All right? So if these matters are being overlooked, then we have to review the process by which we are appointing people to these positions completely. But we must exercise caution. In Liberia, we should avoid prejudgment. Dukley should not be criminally guilty based on a journalistic investigation. Okay, he deserves an opportunity to fully respond to these reports. However, Liberia, we need to realize that this issue is larger than Dukley. It's not Dukley. It's what is our vetting process? Do we have the right people in the right places? You know, and it may be time to scrutinize or re-examine our methods of appointing people, so to make sure that we have people who are trustworthy. Maybe so we have people who are ethically sound that will be respected throughout the world and in different capitals. Because if somebody is of compromised ethics, don't think it will leave in Minnesota. They will bring it wherever they go. So we have to, we as a people, you know, we have to be careful about these things, and so that we get the best people.
Before I let you go, we saying here, let's wait. There has been no criminal charges.
That's right.
And all that, but do you see there are things that are already wrong that we could identify?
Yes, the vetting process. I just pointed that out.
No, I mean that Dukley did wrong.
Oh well, according to the story, the journalistic, that he's acting actively the operation manager in these some of these homes, and he's the managing director for the Liberian National Port Authority at the same time. You're going to run a large organization like that. You know, that's the gateway. That is one of our main revenue sources. So you're running that, and you can still have time to operationally run group homes. And then they have been accused of neglect. There were reports of people dying because of neglect. That's what happens when you have a divided attention. You know, I can tell you as a manager, when you take your eye off the ball, that's when things like that happen. You have to make sure people are meeting the standards and the rules of that govern that type of business. And if you're not there, and things like that happen, what do you think? What do you expect? So, yes, there are some indications, but I still want to say that we need to give him a fair chance to address them.
And as somebody who worked in this area and currently developing applications that can be used in this group, take supervision for instance. There are some people, their care plan call for them to be one-on-one. For some, they should be in arm's reach. You can't be far from them. For some, their supervision is at least see them every hour. Or they should never be away from your sight because they may fall and something happen. So if you are managing director and you are not there, that alone is almost like if you're a caregiver and you are not there, this person's supervision calls for you being there. So that's already is a problem. And if you can say something that is not true, because you are telling the state that I'm here, and so it's kind of appear, you know, it poses some problems.
Yeah, it does look rather dubious.
Yeah,
yes, it does.
Legend. Do you think he declared asset, or do you think the president or the government or the Liberian people would know from asset declaration, just asset declaration alone?
Well, to be candid, what the eye sees, the optics, it doesn't look good in this case. Considering the facts have been established, this is America. Anything done in the dark will always come to light. We all saw in the case of the famous Stanton Witherspoon versus the state that he resides in, where it happened in Florida. But if it's something that needs to be brought to light, it will be brought to light. So Dukley, in my estimation, he can maintain his job, and the government should keep an eye, because it is no secret that he worked his way up to where he is. He earned his living however he did, and he became successful. but by virtue of the fact that he's working in a very influential and very affluent position today in our government, and this issue have been brought up by journalists there, I think we should take it seriously, because the updates will look bad on this government. But the reason why I believe he should keep his job, if it's something that, trust me, if it's something that the government or the state of Minnesota have personal with him, and they can prove that he did something wrong, he will be brought to book. We live in America, and we know there's absolutely nowhere you are hiding from the United States government if they wanted to get you. And because of those reasons, we just have to keep an eye, because in those group homes or nursing homes, whatever the case may be, things do happen. Sometimes between the staff and the work and the patients or the clients, things happen and things may not go well always. So there have been several group homes or nursing homes that people have even come to their demise because of unfortunate circumstances, or whether they can be neglect or what have you. It's not unheard of. But
Right.
if it is something that the government would need to step in, then the American government step in. Trust me, I am not worried about this being resolved if he did something wrong, because this has to do with the American government. So if this journalist push this case and the American government sees something absolutely wrong, Dukuly would be extradited from Liberia in a heartbeat, and he would have to answer to whatever the case may be. But for now, I would say he keeps his job, and he, as a person with conscience, make a conscious decision to, like he seems to be wanting to work for the government to help his country, and maybe put another person. And for what I'm hearing, it seems like he's at the helm of a lot of group homes. So somebody has to fill in that void while he works actively in Liberia. Because from what I also know, that you can work in absentia. He doesn't have to be physically in Minnesota to do that job he's doing. But considering the magnitude of the job that he holds in Liberia, I think it is only expedient that he do himself justice and step aside, because of what has come to the limelight. And American, when they get on something, they're going to stick with it until they get what they need to get. So if he's culpable, he'll be brought to book. If he's not, he'll be exonerated, and he will live his life and continue to work for the Liberian government. That's how I see it. Absolutely nothing to worry, because it involves America. Easy for them to pick you up.
Do you think he disclosed to President Weah that he was actively
President Baka?
President Baka, that he was actively managing and running group homes in America, or you think he withheld that information?
No, I under no circumstance, in my estimation, he could hide that. I think it's a secret out there.
So like he told President Baka that, hey, while I'm here, I'm still running my 24 group homes in Minnesota.
Well, think about it. I'm also going to tell you today, from my knowledge, he's not the only person at the helm of that institution. It's a huge group home. So I know there are other people who are there working with him up there. So I
understand as owner, but as managing director,
yeah,
that means you are actively running it.
Right.
Did you think you told President Baka that and still allow him to work?
It's kind of dicey, but I think the president should have some level of understanding of his position. Like I said, it is clear that he can work in absentia.
Well, what about the Chinese with the 300,000 that they said was he wired to his American account? You think that too will pose a problem?
Certainly, it will, because it looks
like,
the amounts.
Like,
it looks
like
sketchy.
money laundering.
Yeah, it looks sketchy. You can take it in that direction, money laundering. But like I said, the reason I'm not too worried, and most people should not be too worried, we are speaking of the great United States of America, and they will find out if there is something wrong. So, true, the optics, it doesn't look good, but if it is something that to be brought to book, it will be brought to book, because we are speaking of the United States of America, and we know how they take those kind of matters seriously. You see how much a problem the Somalis are faced with today. Even somebody who had absolutely nothing to do with it, but just because of their heritage, the soccer referee that was coming to officiate in the World Cup, you saw the administration stopping from even coming to America. So it tells you they take it seriously. So they will find out. So people should not worry. Like this is me speaking to people who are in Liberia. Trust me, if your port manager Sekou Dukuly did something glaringly wrong, America will find out and he will be apprehended and he will be reprimanded. So I'm not worried about that aspect.
Dr. Pearson, what ethical responsibility does an owner or director bear when facilities connected to that person repeatedly face official findings of neglect, including cases involving deaths? Do you know?
From my own office, what we do at our office here is that they revoke your license, right? They revoke your license and if possible, they close down the facility. But before that happens, there's a long process to going through. Sometimes the people say, the process so long. They must have served is 6 years as port manager in Liberia before they come to the bottom of that case, right? But yeah, what I would say, why would we not be worried whether if he's guilty, he'll be found guilty or not? For me, that's his personal life. What I'm concerned about is what Jimmy talked about. The system we have. So my question would be to President Boyka, if you were appointing me and I did not disclose certain very important information about myself, right? Like, for example, I was prosecuted and I did not having property and the court has to go and find out that I lie having property, or other things that had to do with me hiding money, for the court to go and find out that I have money. All of those things, like I said, it border on public trust. So if he could have done those things, how guarantee are we that he cannot do it to Liberia with the public funds? Now, they seem to talk about the FOIA project and SOEs committing money to the FOIA project, and the president say he doesn't know about it, but little accept it, and then just go in the breeze. It's not in the budget, it's nowhere. But everybody say, oh, that development will move on. So I mean, so there's so much that we need to be worried about, and I would say, yeah, and maybe I'll ask Jimmy to just answer if he can. Jimmy, if you were President Boyka, and on they said people appointees function at the will and pleasure of the president, and you were reposing trust in me coming to work in your government, and I did not disclose to you that I had legal issues in the past that border around trust issue, money issues, and property withholding and hiding from the law, and all those kind of different cases, and neglect of whatever responsibility I have back home. And then you found out later on by this means. Will you still maintain me on the job because you say, well, I didn't find out when I was hiring, so I will keep you now that I know?
You care if I respond to that?
Oh, yeah, why not? Go ahead.
Please, Dr. Pearson, the question you posing to Mr. Jimmy right now, it's not a direct correlation here, because you were saying if there was an issue already, which was not the case. The way you asked the question, as if they knew.
I can clarify. It's the case.
Already.
The report of that lady spoke to court cases. There were court cases that had to do with him in his past relationship, I think, with children and support and whatever.
Okay, but that would not mean he was culpable of anything, because
no, I'm coming. The report says, and you can go back and listen. The report says he made a false statement that he didn't own certain number of properties. That later the court went and found out that the investigation did find that he owned property. Another thing is that he disclosed his finances. He falsely disclosed what he currently what he actually had, and then the investigation found that no, he valued more than what he reported. So I'm telling you, that's issue of trust, and we're talking about we're talking about public trust here. So if you were not honest to me, and you enjoy my word and my pleasure, and you withheld, you could have said to me, oh, this is what I went through, but Papa was so and so. I can explain to it. I can give you justification why it happened, and if I want to forgive you, I can forgive you and say let's move on. In the future, where it comes up, I can say, no, I already know about that. He told me that. But the question I'm asking, if he didn't disclose that, and then he enjoys my confidence in such a high place of trust. That's one of the public gateway to the highest income, one of the highest income source of our country. And we're talking about money trust here. Will you still maintain on trust? That's what I'm saying.
Let me answer that directly. Let me answer that. Failure to disclose significant legal, financial, regulatory issues warrant dismissal. He was supposed to, during the vetting process, he was supposed to declare his assets. And if he falsified information in declaring his assets, that is reason for immediate dismissal. So, and you wonder why is that important? Some Liberians may say, why is that important now? It is important because the man is showing dubious character. He can take that on. He will take that same attitude. People don't change overnight because you give them a job. The same, what we say in Liberia, monkey don't hide who leave his black hand behind. He's going to take that same dubious attitude and character into the new job. And that is our gateway. So if you already found that this guy has not been totally honest and transparent with you, hello, you just gave him the key to the crown jewels. And so, yeah, I think it is reason, and an investigation needs to be going on immediately for such a critical position that he holds. Now, if he can exonerate himself, perfect. Okay, I wouldn't allow mere allegation to automatically dismiss it. No, not by allegation. That's not fair. But when it does request or require investigation and clarity, transparency to find out what did he not disclose to us. Yes.
And Leslie, what does this say about our vetting process? Or like if you look at Sekou, what do you think qualified him to be the MPA managing director? I know it says is one of those things was he had an MPA, and two that he run group homes.
Right. To be candid with you, I sometimes I'm always puzzled and find myself, quizzing myself. How do these institutions and people who are, in authority vet people in Liberia? Because you will see somebody who has. I'll give you a typical example. Isaac Doe, he was part of the past government of former President Weah. From what I know about his background and the position that he was occupying during Weah's tenure as an assistant minister, I think he was misplaced, and he's not the only one. And so many people have been in such position. I think people just take position because they know they're gonna, reap wherever they can. But in all honesty, you're doing the country a disservice. You are doing whomever the leader of this service. You should go to where it's befitting for you, not just because of what called self-aggrandizement for selfish reason. You just go there and you are totally lost. You are there, but you are not doing anything to impact the place, and you're doing yourself a disservice because you're putting yourself in harm's way. So I think Liberia is hard time that we do better in how we put people in high positions, in the country, because you see many a times people get the job, they're just there. A complete vacuum is there. They relying on the people who they met there, the honor men, to do the job for them. But at the same time, they are the bosses, and those people are looking up to them. If anything, they will be the one to speak, but they're not so knowledgeable on the area that they're occupying. So I think this is a fair question, Ja, and I think it's something that all of us must take seriously and call on this government and subsequent ones to take seriously the vetting process, so that people, when they get to the area of employment, they have an idea and they be able to function in that capacity that they are placed, that will benefit the country and not just for a paycheck.
And let's wrap this up 1 minute each. What do you think should happen now? What should President Bouaka do? Or what should Sekou himself do? Legend, just end your thought.
Certainly. Sekou should be on in all fairness, because this involves a emulating out of the great United States of America, and they take nothing lightly when it comes to human lives. And we all know how they are fortunate we find ourselves in this country. And President Baka should start to keep his eyes open, which of course I know as an octogenarian or person who have had a long stay in government, I know his eyes are wide
You
open.
think President Baka should fire him or put him, place him?
No, I don't think at this point it warrant him being fired because there is no indictment out of the United States.
But you don't want to wait for that, right?
No, you don't want to wait for that. But what if, to the contrary, he's this story comes up and he's cleared and nothing,
That's
further.
Suspend to go clean himself and come back.
Prematurely. Say that again.
Say, hey, my man, go settle your thing and come back. Let me give you administrative leave.
At that point, it's dicey, but I will stick with the president monitoring the situation and let him to handle it. Because here's the thing: if nothing comes out of this, and you take him from his position, it look like it was done prematurely. You want to be on the
normally we wait for the United States to say something first, right?
Right.
But can you fire him based on not disclosing all these things?
That you know now.
That, hey, you didn't tell me, right? Because we don't want to wait for say, okay, let's US. Why can't we conduct our own investigation?
It's
discretionary. Why can't we come up with something, right?
Yeah, it is discretionary. I will leave it up to him. Like I said, he's a president who have had the luxury of being a vice president and working in other governmental positions over the years, like LPMC. So I think he has the discernment. So I'll leave it up to his discretion.
In other words, the law knows best.
Yeah, President Baka. I'll be precise. President Baka knows best.
All right, Jimmy. What do you think should happen? President Baka let him go himself, recuse himself?
Well, like, since he answered for Baka, I will tell you what Dukuly needs to do right now. He needs to address these allegations publicly. When somebody bring you when something like this, you can't.
Even the divorce allegation, I mean, 2 times, and his funds. He said no. I think $17 an hour or $14.
Yeah, you can't. This is not some. So he needs to come up with a public.
President Weah did it when they took him to court for child support. He said, "Hey, I don't make money." So people always do those kind of things because
he did it, but now it is haunting him in his current position. So if he wants to remain in his current position, he has to show that his hands are clean. So he needs to hold a conference and address these issues separately, so that people will have more confidence in him. The death of the residents, his ownership in the properties, his ability to supervise Minnesota facilities, his reported tax liens, he needs to address this. And he needs to release the supporting documents as well to corroborate or whatever.
You think the government should do an audit to audit his office? Because an audit will bring out a lot of these things.
Well,
with the Chinese saying, hey, where's my 300,000?
In our laws, Dennis, we should be doing regular audits anyway. So if they're not doing that, then just what Mr. Wissel was saying, are they doing their job? Or did you hold in a position? Because it is part of our law to audit these places on regular intervals.
Okay. So 1 minute over, Dr. Pearson. For 1 minute, what should happen next?
I think this is solely President Baka's decision. And in my mind, President Baka should weigh his conversation with Dukuly prior to hiring him, and what he knows now about Dukuly coming out from this investigation. The President Baka called Dukuly after the campaign, said, "My son, you invested a lot in my campaign, and now this is reciprocity. Now you fed me, now I gotta feed you. Now tell me, is there anything I should know?" "Oh yeah, Papa. My former woman came me in the court before. I lied about my house. I lied about my bank account. Papa, yeah, I also had a situation where they say I took money from in the organization bank account and bought things for myself, personal things for myself, and not in the name of the company, but in my personal name. So in other words, I was misusing or abusing the company's funds." "Oh yeah, President Baka, I think in some instances I did not pay the government taxes that I collected from the employees. on time. I still owing about pay back. I'll catch you later when I get a job. I will put some money back because I was jammed for the campaign. I used some. No, if that discussion was here and President Barker comfortable keeping there until everything blow over, that's fine. But if that conversation was held and he was not clear with the paper, and now the paper knows what the paper know, I dismiss him. Because when you come to think about it, it was President Barker who said, "Love Liberia, sing Liberia, and build Liberia first." So is he going to pull Dukuly over Liberia? It left to him, right? They put voter for him to do the right thing, and that's his call, and he should fire him.
Right, President Barker, if you're listening, please do something about this. I think you are moving ahead with the drug issue, but the Dukuly one, you know how sometimes you have this small little sand in your sack, and if you don't take it from there soon, it can get you in trouble. That's a good segue to this other issue, man. Let's discuss it before we bring in our guests, our callers. Liberia has agreed to accept up to 1,200 foreigners deported from the U.S. over the next year in one of the biggest deals agreed so far by Washington as it continues its clampdown on illegal migration. Dr. Pearson, when you heard this, were you like me to say, where the other one coming from again? I thought we're done with all this deportation business. Is that how what you said? That's what I said when I really heard it. Or you were expecting this all along?
Dennis, it's sad. Look, nobody should get me wrong when I'm making some comments sometimes. Let me clarify before I make my comment. Liberia is noted for being hospitable, right? Even from the early stage information of Liberia, we advocated for other African nations to get independence. We hosted some people, we get in hiding place and everything, made sure they got their independence, and we supported them. One of the prominent sons of the soil in that category was Nelson Mandela. So I would want to see Liberia being hospitable to anybody who feels threatened in the geopolitical space and feel their life is at risk and they don't have anywhere safe to go, and we can help them. By all means, let's help them. But this is not the case here. This is the case where you have a group of politicians in America here saying another country dumped a lot of hardcore criminals in America, and they want to make it a political issue and say, we get them out of this country. So if they're not fit to live in America, what makes them fit to live in Liberia? Matter of fact, America is more positioned and more placed to take care of crime than Liberia is, right? Like America has more incentive for social safety net than Liberia has. Liberia is one of the out of the 8 of the 9 poorest countries in the world. We can better renovate our university. We can better staff our hospitals and buy drugs. Our roads are very deplorable. I know people can better afford 2 meals a day. They eat 1 time a day, and when they eating 1 time a day, somebody not dry rest. So I mean, are we in the place now to be align ourselves to be arm twisted if we want to be the big brother of Africa, or we complacent with being the small brother in Africa? Now we no longer have a voice. We can no longer tell a sweat power and say, you know what happened? Sorry, but that's an issue. You deal with it. And if anybody want to come on asylum from the country, let them come directly to us. But I mean, it's sad. That's the country we have today. We have people who are still subjected to that colonial mindset. They feel that they cannot do other colonial masters, and that's why we are. So I mean, from the humanitarian side, let's go by all means, let's host them. But I think this has been pushed down our throat. It's not by choice.
Mr. Wilson, where do you think these people are going? I mean, as you think about it, just in your head, without knowing anything, where do you think we're going to? Where do you think 1,200 refugees or deportees are going in Liberia?
It's kind of hard to think about it, but I just came up with something creative. I think we should start the decentralization process here. Considering Monrovia is overcrowded, let's start to create avenues, since the government is bringing in all these massive trucks, what we call yellow machines. Let them decentralize, create more roads, and let people become diversified in the country. Let's send people to different countries. Like
You
hypothetically,
think let's say we in Sino we want
right,
500.
right.
You think they're going to live in Dodokan, some live in Greenfield, they're going to put them in jail, or where you think they're going to be?
No. I think we shouldn't even be thinking jail. Let's be thinking productivity. Let people come in and we create the enabling environment where they can work. Let's try and create jobs, because for
And they just live, anywhere, or will we control their movement in and out of the country, the country? Well, how you think about it?
Well, how I envisage this is they come into the country, the government, first of all, they're coming through a port of entry. So they're coming through the Rabat International Airport. The government have each and everyone's name, everything is cataloged, and they get divided into whatever amount of persons they elect to send to whatever county, and they get managed. Yeah, they get managed and let it be part of
how they're going to eat, how they're going to take care of themselves, where they're going to live.
This is why government is. It should be structured. We are a country. We're not a club.
How are you thinking about it? They're going to rent our houses.
They are going to work and earn wages that they can be able to take care of their bills. So that's why. So that's why they should show their strength. Look, create an environment where people can work and pay them, and they become part of the workforce, and that will start something different. Look, you cannot just be myopic.
What if they are criminals and they start to commit crimes?
Well, think about it. They are in the country already. When people get deported to other countries, what has happened to other people who were deported over the years? They get integrated into society. We don't know. Some people turn their life around. You all know the story of so many people. There are people now who are even representative today who were deported from America. I don't have to name relative to this one, but I think that everyone on the platform.
But these are group of people that America does not want. We don't. Are you saying? Let's say if some are hardcore criminals,
right?
You say we have the capacity to rehabilitate them and integrate them in the society.
We should, because there's no alternative right now. You are stuck with them, and we all know that's a. Say that again.
What those at Central Street, cemetery? What would we do?
The same thing. That's where the process begins. You start to rehabilitate people. No, listen. This is and so good. Let me retire here, Ja. This is so good. It brings to my mind why we should support people who are innovative, like of people who work in government today, who have foster or brought about what do you call it, a rehabilitation center that they like Dara Dillon. Push him and call for other people who have now thrown their weight that direction to open rehabilitation center. The other time when I listened to Senator Dillon, he said Yombly were contemplating the president potential, contemplating opening or rehabilitation center in Grand Bassa County. Let every person who occupies a senatorial role or representative role with influence, let them use their influence. No, sometimes it doesn't take your physical cash. It takes your influence. That's one good thing you can do. Use your influence or rehabilitation center in every county. And before you look, like I tell people, I don't like to use that word Zogo, because it could be my cousin, it could be your brother, it could be his sister. We are all intertwined. We are all family. So the disadvantage youth in Center Street graveyard today, someone could get sent to Sino, like we are sending those people who have been transferred. They say they are not deported, but instead they've been transferred to Liberia. They can get merged there, they get rehabilitated and get integrated into society. Create an enabling environment, let people become productive, and the greatest workforce is human capacity.
Thank you. I wonder whether you really know what's happening in Liberia as of now.
Hey, I may not know, but I'm always going to be on the positive side of the fence.
All right.
I heard a labor minister told people license from working in the country, foreigner license, so they can work. God is no job.
Jimmy, I was kind of pushing my young colleague, and you saw what I was going with it without knowing the government plan what it intend to do, because we have not heard it, right? How do you think about this whole thing?
My man,
Does that make any sense?
That's the point, exactly what you just said. I heard them addressing these people as guests. You know, maybe they're trying to approach it as a humanitarian request from an ally or historic ally. But this humanitarian language, is it concealing an arrangement under which a powerful country like the US transfer its difficult legal responsibility to a poor country? So I gotta ask myself, have anybody seen this agreement? Have we seen this agreement we entered into with the United States? Well, do we know the ramifications? Is it going to be funded? Are they going to fund it? Are there issues for where some people are criminals, or very hardened criminals? You know, there's so many questions to ask. I understand the weakness that African countries face when you have a powerful ally, but you can't do things that will upset your country. What is going to be their status when they get here? They're going to be asylum seeker, a refugee, or what? Subject to detention. This is what they're going to put them up in Duco Hotel. Or we got in the hotel, Google Hotel stuff, huh? What have we gotten ourselves into? These are the hard questions that the Senate and the representatives are supposed to be asking the executive. Those who allow this agreement, have they done us justice? Because that is what they're there for, to review these actions and decisions taken by the executive. And we don't know what this whole agreement is about. I see it's very troubling that I don't know what is going on, and I don't know how we're going to deal with this. But here we are, committed to something. Maybe somebody else has more information on the panel, but I have not seen what kind of agreement and what it entails and how it's going to be handled in the future. So I'm kind of concerned that they have allowed this to fruition right now. Anybody hear me?
I can hear you. I think
Dennis, all right.
Dennis is on mute.
Sorry, as we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll open the phone lines. If you want to be part of the conversation, call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. Participate in the discussion. We want to hear what you think, about the deportees, about Joe Howard Taylor or Sekou. We'll be right back.
When a nation trades its future for temporary relief? What happens when hunger becomes political?
Hold on.
When a bag of rice or a simple promise becomes more? What happens when a nation trades its future for temporary relief? What happens when hunger becomes political currency? When a bag of rice or a simple promise becomes more powerful than the future of an entire country? In a nation that sells tomorrow? Professor Jonathan Omeneka David Sr. confronts this difficult question head-on. Liberians want better schools, stronger institutions, and honest leadership. Yet, election after election, poverty and broken trust distort the power of the ballot. When survival today becomes more urgent than reform tomorrow, democracy itself pays the price. Professor David asks something harder. Who benefits when poverty is allowed to become a political weapon? Across 25 chapters, this book examines Liberia's post-war political conscience through the eyes of a citizen and educator. This is not only a book about politicians, it is about voters, families, and the diaspora. It is about all of us. The book explores the politics of hunger, the reward of corruption, clanship, and the unfinished wounds of war. But it also points toward another path: civic education, accountability, and moral courage. It is for citizens who understand that their vote is not a gift to politicians. It is a claim on the future. Nations are not weakened by bad leadership alone. They are weakened when citizens become too exhausted to defend tomorrow. Read A Nation That Sells Tomorrow by Professor Jonathan Omenica David Sr. Get your copy on Amazon and wherever books are sold. A book for anyone who believes Liberia's future is worth protecting, because tomorrow is sacred and the ballot must never be for sale.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Between the Headlines, and I'm your host, the well-rounded Dennis Jar. And I bet you never find anything like this since the fall of the Mali Empire. Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Our mission is to create a more enlightened and informed Liberian society that attracts the world. Tonight, we discuss about the arrest and subsequent charges against the former First Lady, the former Senator, and the former Vice President Joel Howard Taylor. We also talk about the NPA Director, Sekou Dukuly, and the report from from NPR, and also the 1,200 deportees that our country is accepting. Okay, we want to hear from you. If we don't, we're going to close the broadcast. So, gentlemen, we don't have a caller yet. And with everything we discussed tonight, I want tell me which one really stand out to you, Dr. Pearson. Which one is your heartstring?
I think the drug issue in Liberia means our biggest concern. We all want to ensure that we are aggressive about how we get rid of this drug cartel from Liberia, and we shouldn't stop at nothing than to get to the bottom of it. There should be no one who should be above the law, but at the same time, we should go about it in a professional manner and with caution, considering the fact that at the end of the day, we want to do this right. We don't want to just get it done politically. We want to get it done right. And any actions or inaction that will cause us not to get it right would be a disservice to the country, and we may not achieve the goal we want to achieve while hurting ourselves in the process.
Thank you, Jimmy. Let's with everything we discussed, let's talk solution now. Let's use our the last time here to talk solutions. I mean, based on what we've discussed tonight, the picture is not that great.
Yeah.
What do we do?
The question comes up is if the administration is governing through transparent institutions and equal application of the law. Because here, when you look at the Joel Howard issue, and we notice that people are not being treated by the same. Somebody received $10,000, but they're not locked up. They're not in jail. Why is Joel Howard being detained? So the administration has to set the standard for all of us to follow, and it has to be a fair play to all, equal and transparent. And likely so, even the treaties and things we signed. We signed an agreement to accept deportees. We don't know these are terrorists. We don't know what may be followed. We don't know. Do we have the institutions to support them? My brother, we just said that we have so many disenfranchised and deprived people all in Monrovia streets. How can we take care of foreign nationals and we haven't even addressed our own people? So we're not saying you shouldn't do this, but where is the transparency? Show me how you plan to do these things. What is the groundwork you're laying to be able to institute these things, these measures that you're taking? Why is there such? It shouldn't be ad hoc. There should be a policy and principles established by which we govern ourselves by. It shouldn't be by shooting from the hip. We do this today and we do that tomorrow. That's not how a country is built. It has to be built through policy and institutions. And this is coming from a devastating civil war. This is the time we're supposed to start building our institutions so our children's children will be able to follow what we're doing. But the lack of transparency and policy, that what I'm seeing is not, it does not reflect that we are rebuilding so to make Liberia once more great again. So I that's the only concern I have, that there has to be transparent institution and equal application of the law for all. We don't want to repeat of what happened that caused 1980 and that what caused 1990. So we have to be very careful.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
Yes, sir. As per your question, what takes prominence of all the topics? It has to be the drugs, obviously, because it's something that is plaguing our country since the last three government, if I should remember, the last three most recent governments. Madam Ellen Johnson certainly dealt with it. Former President George Weah dealt with it, and today the incumbent Joseph Baka is dealing with it. So I think we cannot take it any lightly, but we want it to be done the right way. And if you're going to name people, please make sure you're doing it in the right way so that you don't put stigma on somebody's image that they've built over the years. And I want to call on people at the helm of power today. If the Liberian people, the populace, are calling for the removal of any of the government official, and if it makes sense based on the pieces of evidence that are available, I think it is only wise that this government take heed and remove said person. Because think about this: during the last government of George Weah, sedition may beg to differ, but the harsh reality is there were so many Liberians who did not like that mop-up exercise, and they were calling for Samuel Tuer to either be removed from that position and sent somewhere else to function because he was one of the stalwarts and one of the brains behind CDC, or have something else done to rotate his position. And the former president and their government, CDC government, did not do that. And I think it took a toll on them in the election that brought back to power. I think Liberian people are not happy because of their inability to heed the words of the people, the cry of the Liberian people, and they lost to President Baka in a close election. And today we have this government. So if the government want to do better, they still have up to 2029. We're talking about just 2+ years to go because we're already in 26 and we're nearing the end of 26. I think they should start to pay more attention to the voices of the people. And in most cases, they say the voice of the people is like the voice of God. The people put you there, so you have to listen to them. If they want you to act, you must act accordingly. As long as it is done in the right fashion that is going to benefit the country, I think you should always heed the words of the people as a leader. And with that, I'd like to say it was a beautiful show. I think we touched on the issues, and one thing I admire about this platform, Dennis, is the fact that people air their views with respect and no one interrupt. I really like that exchange when you share your thoughts and people allow you to get your thoughts in without interrupting your school of thought because you lose your trend sometimes. So I appreciate you, and it was a beautiful interaction.
Thank you. No doubt, we are the best. Dr. Pearson, solution.
Yeah, then before I give my solution, I just
let me caution you before you give your solution. Any solution without Ellis Cummings being the president?
Well, look, after you have said we're putting Buckeye and his officials in a 44 container. But I just want to say to the viewers out there, this book is out. I'm trying to see if I can get it to show properly, but yeah, this one. After the Godfather is out. It's a very beautiful piece, and it has to do with the succession crisis in Nima, in trying to replace a prince, former Senator Prince Johnson. and it features Samuel Koga and Jeremiah Kuhn. All right, succession for traditional and political power in Nima County, and discusses the strategy towards 2029. Anybody wants to read that book. If you don't read that book, you're not prepared for the politics coming in 2029. And I'm not paying anything for advertisement. All right, but again, look, let me for on a serious note, I think the Dukuly issue from the bottom up, I think we shouldn't be receiving deportees to our country without first having the infrastructure and the foundation layout and the plan layout as to how we're going to manage and with the situation. I just quickly read over some of the things through the New York Times. They said that there's some money involved, but it's undisclosed. So I guess that's the pull. That's the pull factor. All right, they will be giving Liberia some money. I think they said like 14 other African countries have yielded to the U.S. pressure on the same token, but some money is involved, and according to them, they want to use it to build Liberia immigration capacity and structure to meet immigrants if we were to do so in the future. They didn't build it, but they will build it when the immigrants come, right? Liberia. Our country too funny, but we'll come back to it. And then when it comes to Dukuly, look, I think President Boakai should call Dukuly to his house over maybe some dinner or something, have a son and father conversation. If Dukuly did not disclose those information to him, he should let Dukuly go. Because I don't think Dukuly was honest with him. If Dukuly can give good reason why he didn't disclose, and he feel comfortable with that disclosure, well, he can keep Dukuly. And then I don't think if they start sanctioning the people or indicting the people, what the government will be a good thing for his government, because those CDC guys will spin it more than the top can sit on his bottom. And another thing I would say when it comes to the issue with the drug, listen, let us be honest with this fight. We cannot afford to have a country that will lay foundations that will erode the gains we're trying to make coming out of war. Nobody going to war in the twinkling of an eye. We gravitate towards war. We slide into war. And I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, Liberia, we've been through war before. We're going back there." Nobody tell anything about war. Will never happen again. I would say to Liberians, and this is what I think we should do, Dennis, if we can. Let Liberians go back and start to read all the TRC testimonies and read his transcript. I'm doing that right now. I've gone through several. And as I do them, Dennis, sometimes when I'm listening, the hair at the back of my head, Dennis, can stand when I see what's happening now. Because as far as I'm concerned, what I've listened to so far, we are not far from what we were before going into the 14 years of civil war. And I think we cannot repeat the past at this time. We always said, no war coming. Then NPF came. They said, learn coming. We're at the LD campus. We said, learn coming. We said, no, learn coming. There's a lot of politics. At the end of the day, more mortar push a lot of us into the U.S. embassy. Some of us end up dying right in front of the U.S. embassy. The U.S. embassy could do nothing for people who die in front of them or in the U.S. compound. So we can go back to it, claiming that it will not happen when we know it will definitely come to pass if we're not careful. So I want to say thank you for the show tonight. I think it was a good one. Let us be conflict sensitive as we go about leading our country in the future. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. And that's another project I think I'm going to do to get those TRC videos, into one spot so that we don't go seeking for them. Those testimonies are very important.
Give my recommendation, Dennis, how you can do it. So when you go to the TRC website, it's down there, but majority of it on YouTube, right? So if you click on it, all you gotta do just I don't know if you can broadcast to your channel if they were live.
Maybe.
No, I'm still depending on them. I want to save them myself.
Oh, okay.
Very important.
Yeah,
create a library.
Yeah.
Create a library.
But thank you. We want to thank Samantha King. She always gives something. People talk. So you can make donations, from our YouTube channel. You can also send us stars, and you can also, send something through our Zelle. To keep the lights on, there's a lot, because there's nothing like Focus on Liberia. Since the fall of the Mali Empire. So please, thank you so much, Samantha, for your donation. Again, we want to close tonight thanking all of you. I wanted to, to do a little speech, a little closing, because I like to hear myself talk. Tonight, we have talked about powerful names, but this conversation cannot end with Jewel Howard Taylor or Sekou Dukuly. Because if Liberia's accountability system depends on who is accused, which political party they belong to, who appointed them, or who controls the government, then Liberia does not have accountability. It has discretion. Jewel Howard Taylor deserves due process. The government deserves the opportunity to present whatever admissible evidence it says it possesses. And the Liberian people deserve to know whether an alleged international narcotics network penetrated the country's institutions, and if so, how deeply. Sekou Dukuly should not be declared guilty of crimes authorities have not charged him with. But Liberians are entitled to ask whether senior public officials can simultaneously carry significant private responsibilities abroad without full disclosure and without questions about divided attention, conflicts of interest, and accountability. On that note, we're going to end with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night, and may God richly bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia.